All right, we're about to take a journey to some of the coldest, most extreme places on our planet. I want you to forget everything you think you know about deserts, because we're heading to the vast, frozen landscapes at the very edge of the world, to see how life doesn't just survive, it thrives.
So when you picture a desert, what comes to mind? Sand, right? Blistering heat? Well, what if I told you that some of the biggest deserts on Earth are the complete opposite? They are massive, they're frozen solid, and they are home to some of the toughest life forms you can imagine.
Our journey kicks off at the poles. And here's something that might surprise you. Places like Antarctica, Greenland, they're technically deserts. You see, the defining feature isn't the heat, it's the extreme lack of any kind of precipitation.
So how on earth can a place buried under miles of ice be so dry? Well, it's all about the air. The intense cold makes the air super dense, so it sinks. And this sinking air creates a high-pressure zone that pretty much slams the lid on cloud formation. And, of course, no clouds means almost no snow or rain.
Okay, so if it barely snows, where did all this ice come from? I mean, we're talking miles thick in some places. Well, it's a process that takes thousands and thousands of years. The tiny amount of snow that does fall never gets a chance to melt. It just piles up layer after layer, and the immense weight squashes the snowflakes down into the massive, solid ice sheets we see today.
Now, the land itself might look like a barren, frozen desert, but that is not the whole story. Not even close. To find where life really explodes in these polar regions, we have to look underneath the surface, deep into the frigid ocean.
It's a great question, right? With almost nothing growing on land, where is all the energy, all the food coming from? The answer is swimming in the nutrient-rich waters that surround these icy continents. So let me introduce you to the unsung heroes of the polar oceans, phytoplankton. These are microscopic little plants that, during those bright summer months, just bloom in unbelievable numbers. They're the primary producers here, turning sunlight into energy and creating the absolute foundation for all life in the region.
And from these tiny, tiny plants, an entire food web just ignites. Phytoplankton are eaten by swarms of krill and small fish. They in turn become dinner for predators like penguins and seals. And right at the top of this incredible chain, the largest animals on Earth, whales. All of this amazing life is built on a foundation of microscopic green stuff. It's incredible.
Okay, let's move away from the poles and that teeming ocean life and journey to our next extreme environment, the tundra. This is that huge, treeless plain that wraps around the top of the globe, a landscape that's defined by one single, incredibly powerful feature.
And that feature is permafrost. Now, this isn't just ground that freezes in the winter. No. This is soil that has been locked in ice for at least 2 years straight, and in a lot of places, for thousands of years. It is the literal bedrock of the entire tundra ecosystem.
And permafrost isn't just sitting there. It's a dynamic force. It acts like a giant slab of concrete under the soil, so water can't drain away. That's why you get all those bogs and wetlands in the short summer. And, this is critical, it has locked away millennia of dead plants and organic material, trapping enormous amounts of greenhouse gases.
Life on the tundra is ruled by a tale of 2 seasons, 2 total extremes. First, you have the polar night, which brings months of total darkness and just unimaginable cold. But then it's followed by the midnight sun, where for weeks and weeks, the sun never sets, sparking this frantic but very short-lived explosion of growth.
So how does anything possibly survive these conditions? It seems impossible. Well, let's zoom in and look at the plants first, because their survival strategies, they are nothing short of genius.
Let's use the Arctic willow as our hero plant here. First off, it doesn't grow up, it grows low, practically hugging the ground to stay out of those brutal winds. Its roots, they spread out sideways, not down, because they can't penetrate that deep frozen permafrost. And get this, it even has these fine little hairs on its leaves that act like a tiny fur coat, trapping whatever precious heat it can.
So the plants are incredibly clever. But what about the animals? They've also developed some really amazing adaptations that make them true masters of this frozen world.
Let's start with the Arctic fox. I mean, its most obvious trick is that incredible camouflage. In the winter, it's rocking a thick, pure white coat, making it nearly invisible against the snow. But when summer comes, it sheds all that for a thinner, brownish-gray coat that blends in perfectly with the rocks and soil.
But its survival kit goes way beyond that. Its body is compact and it has short little ears to minimize heat loss.
It can wrap its big, bushy tail around itself like a scarf for extra warmth, and its hearing is so sharp it can actually hear prey like lemmings scurrying around deep underneath the snow.
Next up, one of the tundra's most iconic animals, the caribou, who you might also know as reindeer. These guys survive by going on some of the longest land migrations on the entire planet, always on the move, always searching for food.
And they are just perfectly engineered for this environment. They've got a double-layer coat, and the outer hairs are actually hollow, which is amazing for insulation. Their hoofs are huge and spread out, acting just like snowshoes to keep them on top of deep snow or mushy summer ground. Even their noses are special. They're designed to warm up that freezing air before it ever hits their lungs.
You know, the adaptations we've just seen are just incredible. They're a testament to the power of evolution. But they all developed in a world that was, until pretty recently, predictably and permanently cold. The truth is, this frozen world is a lot more fragile than it looks.
And here's why all of this matters to every single one of us. Remember that permafrost we talked about? Well, it is a massive storehouse of carbon. It holds almost double the amount of carbon that's currently in our entire atmosphere. It's basically a frozen vault, and its stability is directly tied to the stability of our global climate.
The life we've seen today is just a masterclass in adaptation, perfected over thousands and thousands of years. But in a world that's warming up so quickly, these incredible species are facing a brand new challenge, one they never evolved for. And that leaves us with one final, very urgent question. They mastered the cold, but can they possibly survive the heat?